At 38 years old, the little fairy saw that her husband was about to go bankrupt. In order not to waste her unparalleled beauty, she decisively took away one of his villas and then quickly married her husband's best friend. Unexpectedly, 8 years later, her ex-husband made a strong comeback, and his net worth even doubled. Upon hearing this, the little fairy immediately stormed into the village government, claiming that the divorce certificate was fake, that she had never been divorced, and that her husband should immediately give her 2 million yuan for her retirement. As the saying goes, if you're in the right, go to the police. For messy emotional disputes, you can go to a mediator. The little fairy is named Yong Gu Ping, and she told the mediator that she was a prominent local figure. She had already been driving a Benz back in the year 2000. She lied to the reporter, saying her husband faked the divorce certificate just to keep a mistress. Now, her husband even bought that mistress a car and a house, while she could only lie alone in the villa watching helplessly. Although she's no longer young, she insisted she's still sweet, smart, and beautiful. Because she couldn't stand the injustice, she came to the show to expose this man's shameless behavior. She then pulled out photos of herself from her younger years. Back then, she was only 18, in the prime of her youth, and her husband was down-to-earth and kind. Their wedding was so grand it shocked the whole town. The little fairy recalled that as their family became wealthier by the day, her husband gradually changed. She moved to another villa and started living separately. Now, after 8 years apart, she's been left pitifully alone in a big villa. Not only can she barely afford food, but she often collapses from exhaustion after cleaning the house. Meanwhile, that mistress was gifted a luxury car worth millions and even 2 houses by her husband. But is the little fairy really telling the truth? As she spoke, she led the reporter to her ex-husband's residence. The first thing they saw was their son's Range Rover, a coming-of-age gift from the father. Further ahead, they spotted a Benz. The little fairy claimed it belonged to the mistress and angrily knocked on the door. Opening the door was her ex-husband's current wife, Zhou Fei, who was visibly surprised to see the little fairy. After all, they'd been divorced for 8 years. The current wife couldn't understand where she got the nerve to show up. When the ex-husband heard about the fake divorce certificate, he was speechless. He brought out the divorce agreement they had signed back then, clearly showing both of their names and the signature of the judicial officer from the village government.
05年签的。
Back then, since the ex-husband was the richest man in the area and his company provided jobs for countless people, the village government paid extra attention to him and even came in person to help him complete the divorce procedure. Now, with all the evidence laid out, the little fairy argued back, saying that although she had signed the divorce agreement, it was only because her husband was about to go bankrupt. She claimed her husband forced her to divorce to avoid financial risk and that in reality, she had never truly divorced him. The little fairy said that even if her husband had gone bankrupt, she would have stayed to endure hardship with him. The only reason she moved into a separate villa was to inspire and push him forward, for his own good. She claimed that if it weren't for her, he wouldn't have had the motivation to succeed. But now, 8 years later, he's living a good life and has no use for his once loyal wife. Upon hearing his ex-wife's shameless words, the ex-husband was nearly driven to madness. He brought out a small ledger that recorded all the support he had given her over the past 8 years.
说这些都是给你以前妻付的钱。
对，他说要交电费啊，或者居民来的。
也是给他的。
对，你看嘛，电费没？
电费。
然后就注册名的爸爸生活费没？
儿子的生活费。
对，儿子的学费没？7500，这是学的学费没？对不对？这也搞得他1000没，915号没。
When the ex-husband went bankrupt and his wife left, he still transferred living expenses to her regularly. 2 years after the divorce, as his life began to improve, he even proposed remarriage, but the little fairy rejected him every time. Then, he finally revealed the real reason she left. When his business collapsed and he was 3 million yuan in debt, the little fairy had cheated on him, with his best friend. That double betrayal nearly drove him to suicide. Later, he met his current wife, Zhou Fei, who encouraged him to regain his confidence. With her support, he returned to the business world and, after years of struggle, is now able to provide his current wife with a good life. Facing the unreasonable little fairy, Zhou Fei also expressed her anger. She said, back when her husband had nothing, the little fairy was nowhere to be found. Now that he's risen again, she shamelessly wants a share. But just because you shout louder doesn't mean you're right.
以前我跟他在一起的时候，他没钱，他真的没钱。几年我跟他在一起，几年都是我拿钱给他。
刚刚认识他的时候，
都是用我的钱，
还是穷光蛋的时候，
真的是加油的钱都没有。
给我过年。
我拿钱给他儿子，我说你妈妈一个人，因为我也是离了婚的人，是吧？啊，因为那个时候我自己还是有，不是很多钱了，就是够用的钱还是有。然后我也知道他没钱跟他在一起，但是我觉得他人还是那个啊，对我还是好，真的是。
也就是说你们两个也是苦尽甘来。
对啊。
When the current wife met him, he had 3 million yuan in debt and no home or food. Only a Benz he hadn't yet sold. At that time, she had just finalized her divorce and fell in love with him at first sight. She used all the assets she had received from her previous marriage to support his business comeback. After 6 years of hard work, her husband is now back on his feet, and his wealth is not far from what it once was. But just as life improved, the ex-wife came knocking, demanding a share of the fortune. Outraged, she stormed out of the house with the mediator and later made a scene at the village government office, trying to force them to declare the divorce certificate invalid.
肯定是真的，如果不是真的，只是我跟是认真的时候吧，他还有份结婚证在手里呢，结婚证不拘守的，在那个结婚证上面我还写的不此证除非啊，对，以后必须那东西就是拘守，只是我的小叔当时没到位，没把我上面签的字，没到上面给账是吧？我现在证认是我跟是首付，他这个
他当时到底来的嘛？
肯定来的，他不来一个签字了，哪能签啊？
他这个拿到你。
Because the staff forgot to stamp one of the documents when processing the divorce certificate, the procedure could technically be revoked even now. Hearing this, the little fairy broke into a big smile and immediately ran back to her ex-husband, demanding 2 million yuan. If he didn't pay, she would revoke the divorce altogether.
那我那个叫我自己也接近过1年了，也无能我离的。我走起吧，我这个叫今后的，或者吧，我房子要有，养我的要有，养我保险要有，我今后的生活要有保障，我要200万。
The little fairy claimed that even though she made no contributions over the years, she at least worked hard. If it weren't for her dramatic exit when her ex-husband hit rock bottom, how could he have found the strength to fight his way back? She insisted that without her, he would still just be a nouveau riche worth a few million yuan, and would never have developed the refined character he has now. She said bluntly that asking for 2 million yuan was already modest. For her ex-husband's current financial status, 2 million yuan was just a drop in the ocean. But the ex-husband, faced with her unreasonable demands, said he would never give her a single yuan again, no matter how wealthy he became.
他提出来要有房子，要买养老保险，要什么东西还要200万块钱。我觉得他要求可以提，但是我不会同意。
Furious after being rejected, the little fairy stormed off, threatening to sue her ex-husband and go after half his assets. Not just 2 million yuan. Upon hearing her delusional threat, the ex-husband responded coldly, "You were the one who signed it, put your thumbprint on it, and agreed to leave everything behind. For 8 years, you didn't care if I lived or died. And now that I have money, you want a piece of it. Fine. You want a lawsuit? I'll see you in court. But remember, law is based on evidence."
A woman returns 8 years after a divorce, demanding 2 million yuan. When rejected, she claims the divorce certificate is fake. She says she's not after money, she's after fairness. She says she left back then to motivate him to become a better man. She even believes that if she hadn't walked away, he wouldn't be the successful man he is today. But the problem is, when she left, he had nothing. He couldn't even pay the mortgage. And when she came back, his wealth had skyrocketed and his business was thriving. Some say she's a ruthlessly pragmatic ex-wife. She left cleanly and returned precisely. Others joke she's the ultimate man success booster. She left, he got rich. She came back to cash in. But what do you think? Is she seeking justice or just a piece of the pie? Does she deserve that 2 million yuan? Feel free to leave your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to hear what you think. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel. See you in the next episode.